the relationship's very difficult, isn't it, within that family? And I think, yes, it would be a lot easier if Meghan weren't there. But, you know, it is still the King's daughter-in-law. And they still have 2 children who are the King's grandchildren. So you would kind of hope that they could still see each other. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if they did actually bring the kids and they all went to see Grandad, because that would really give him a boost. As much as we said the hospital the other day, I think, gave him a massive boost. And funny enough, the Lord Lieutenant of London, the guy who welcomes the King when he gets out of the car, Sir Ken, he was telling me that he had cancer in 2016, and you get highs and lows, psychological highs and psychological lows, he said, with cancer. And that visit the other day would have given the King a real boost, a real high, which really helps with your treatment. I kind of would have thought, just imagine if Harry and Meghan came over with the grandchildren, he got to see them, or one of them, for the very first time. So that would be quite something.
I thought, look, take away the news that we write and stuff like that. Just on a family situation, you would like them to be friends and like them to see his grandchildren. You say probably have a huge boost. Absolutely, I think you're right. Totally.
Especially someone who's got cancer, and we don't know his diagnosis, we don't know the severity of it, but having cancer is a very uncertain moment in anyone's life. And I think that would give him a massive boost. Yeah.
I think just my point of view is that possibly without a home, without somewhere to stay, Meghan feels that maybe she can't. This is just my view, that maybe she feels that does she want to take her kids and put them in a hotel?
Again, you say these things like this. Dad's got enough spare rooms. He's got Clarence House, he's got Buckingham Palace. If he's at Sandringham, it's definitely big enough for a couple of guests. Yeah. There's Highgrove. Anywhere that he is, there'll be a big enough room to accommodate Meghan, Harry, and the kids. So let's
look forward to Harry.
Yeah.
We will wait and see if Meghan transfers on the way, but they're going to Nigeria. Yes. We don't know much about this Nigeria trip. No,
it's just a defence official, isn't it, or a defence minister in Nigeria has confirmed it. It's about looking at the legacy of the Invictus Games. Why Nigeria? Absolutely no idea, really. But it's a Commonwealth country, as we all know. Yes, but I just think it's really interesting that Meghan is able to join Harry for that Invictus bits of his little tour, but not the London bit. So
I read in I think it was a US magazine, I think it was a headline, or it was a headline online saying that this was a royal tour. It's not a royal tour, is it, Chris?
I don't think. I mean, Harry and Meghan going anywhere can't really be classed as a royal tour when you've left the royal family and no longer working members. You could call it the Montecito couples tour or something like that. It's just like when they went recently for the Bob Marley film. They went to the Caribbean, and that wasn't a royal tour. That was as a visit by Harry and Meghan. But of course, I'm sure that headline royal tour might appear somewhere when they are pictured in Nigeria.
You mentioned about why they're going there, and I was in Düsseldorf, and at one stage at the Invictus Games in Düsseldorf, a gentleman appeared next to Harry for the wheelchair basketball, and so we turned to Archwell's team and we said, we need to know who's this man, and they said, well, that's the Defence Minister of Nigeria. He'd actually flown over specifically to
give him a personal invitation.
Well, that's possibly where it came from, but he wanted to sit next to him. I think it was after Harry had made his opening speech, where he said that Meghan was 43% Nigerian. He'd heard that, he'd come over to meet Harry. So I'm assuming that's where it all started.
Yeah, and also fascinating for Meghan to go back to a country where she's got some heritage, and it's going to be really interesting to see what events they do. Thus far, we've been told nothing about the visit other than the fact that it is happening and she's going to be there. So it could actually, from that point of view, be really interesting for Meghan to go back to a country, through her mother's heritage and find out more about Nigeria. But like I say, Nigeria is one of the countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, I think Denmark, Netherlands, that have all had quite big competitors as part of the Invictus Games. And it's not, it's about servicemen and women serving in whatever capacity, whether they've been injured on tour at home, on duty at home, or whether they've been injured somewhere abroad. So again, I'm a huge fan of the Invictus Games. I think it's done amazing things for some very brave men and women. And clearly, Nigeria's got a big visit on its hands.
Yeah, I mean, the visit to Nigeria specifically itself, They've been on royal tours before. We've seen them in Australia, we've seen them in South Africa, but they've had their, they're not allowed to use their HRH titles. They're not allowed to kind of use their royal titles to make money, but we know that they're Harry and Meghan and they're, a Duke and Duchess. What do you think, if any, the pitfalls that they could struggle with when they're in Nigeria? It's a Commonwealth country.
Yep.
People are already calling it a royal tour. Do you have any worries that this could blow up badly, or do they need to be advised in a certain way?
I mean, Nigeria's got its own challenges in terms of its own safety and security in certain parts of the country, and I'm sure they're not going to go to the most dangerous areas, put it that way. I think the Nigerians will do everything they can to make this a really successful tour and, kind of put Nigeria on the map. And we must remember that as much as Meghan in this country is a bit of a Marmite character, people love her or people really don't love her, she is likely to be seen very, very differently, in Africa and in a country where she does have some heritage. So I would have thought actually that she will get a huge numbers of crowds coming out to see her because she's a figure on the global stage, and she's coming to their country, and they'll want to put on a red carpet almost as red as the one they might put on for a king or a queen.
Well, that might be the problem. That they do put a red carpet out for a king, queen. That's what I'm concerned about. That they've left the royal family and going on a tour to a Commonwealth country, people might start thinking they're representing the royal family.
Well, if I was in Harry and Meghan's office and I was planning this tour or this trip to Nigeria, I would kind of have a look at what William and Kate did in the Caribbean and not do any of it, and try and actually just do it a bit differently, because of course what they don't want is what that accusation. I know this wasn't William and Kate's intention, but that accusation that there was these white former colonial masters coming to see the people in the colonies. That's definitely something that they want to avoid for a whole host of reasons. So I think if I was planning the tour, I would think very carefully about the optics of it. And you just remember that stuff in the Caribbean, even the stuff that was really unfair, like the picture through the fence, when actually that was just a moment because he rushed over to see some kids. It wasn't that the fact someone put a fence up to keep William and Kate segregated from the locals, because 10 seconds later they were doing handshakes in the street. It was just a particular moment, and that picture misrepresented the tour, but was part of the problems when it comes to optics.
Well, 100%. We were there, and it seemed completely normal. They had a fence there that had been there for decades.
The fence around a football pitch.
Just around a football pitch.
Yeah.
And they decided to go over, say hi, lovely pictures, but it wasn't until the reaction outside of the bubble, the reporters and everybody that was there, there was kind of
nobody on either side of the fence minded that the fence was there. It was just that people were watching the football match. It was Raheem Sterling there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he also was saying hello to people through the fence as well. He's from Jamaica. But like I said, there were so many issues on that tour. And then we go to the Land Rover and dressed in your sort of, colonial attire, because the actual Jamaican Defence Force had asked William and Kate to do that because the late Queen did it all those years ago, and they did it, where someone in the palace should have gone, I tell you what, these are different times. We don't really do that kind of thing anymore. It just doesn't look right. In fact, many people would argue it never was right. So.
Yeah, well, these are the pitfalls that, we'll have to wait and see what happens in Nigeria.
I would have thought, but again, Meghan's mum is black, her father's white, therefore immediately I think it will be easier for them in a country like Nigeria.
Hopefully we'll get some more details at some stage.